This meeting going. Welcome everybody to this regularly scheduled board meeting in South Tahoe PD. If you would all please stand and join me in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America.
United States of America.
And to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Did you say that everybody's unmuted now, or how's that look?
I don't know which caller we were off the top of my head, so I unmute everybody.
Okay,
We're good. Shelley can hear us. Shelley's on.
all right. Very good. Do we have any comments from any public call and folks on items that are not on the agenda? Hearing any, so do we have any corrections to the agenda or consent calendar?
6A, being removed.
Oh, yes, we do have a correction. Item 6A is being deleted. There are a couple of things that need to be looked at before that shows up again. So there is a correction to the agenda. With that being said, do we have a motion to adopt the consent calendar?
I move that we adopt the consent calendar.
I'll second that. Okay, I have a motion and a second. Director Stefla,
Yes.
President Bolducek,
Yes.
Vice President Sheehan? Yes. Director Exline?
Yes.
Okay, that passes 4-0. Next is payment and claims.
I'll move. Go ahead. Help out.
I just motioned it, the wrong thing, didn't
Time remaining.
I?
0.
Excuse my interruption while voting, but just a reminder to folks on the call, if you're not speaking, please put yourself on mute, either on your phone, or if you're on both two meetings, you can mute yourself with the button at the bottom of the screen. That helps prevent background noise. Thanks.
Okay, thanks.
I move for approval of payment claims in the amount of $1,445,199.37.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Director Stefla,
Yes.
President Bolducek,
Yes.
Vice President Sheehan? Yes. Director Exline?
Yes.
Okay, another 4-0 vote, which moves us on to standing and ad hoc committee reports. On the list is the Finance Committee, which just terminated a couple of minutes ago. So, Chris or Kelly, you guys want to?
Ladies first.
You go, and I'll concur. I think we're in the same
Okay.
page. Not about
So we just concluded our Finance Committee report, or meeting, which came with a very nice lunch, by the way. Thank you. And the first thing we talked about was the monthly versus quarterly billing. Tim gave us an in-depth presentation on basically the fact that the rest of the world, we're at the bottom of the barrel as far as the quarterly billing, and everybody else has kind of moved on to the monthly billing. That the issue at hand, and Tim can, I'll let him kind of chime in, but essentially we spend $80,000+ a year on quarterly billing, and the total amount for the monthly billing it takes up to around $280,000 per day.
No, that would be the additional cost.
Oh, additional.
Yeah.
So plus 80.
Yeah.
So $360,000 essentially. Okay. And we talked about the necessity to try and move forward with that, and in the meantime, essentially push people into paperless billing. So we're thinking about having a campaign sometime between now and the time we implement that new system. And secondly, to try and reduce the cost so that it becomes something that we can afford to do. Jim, if there's anything you want to add to that, maybe you go ahead.
Yeah, one thing I can add.
I mean, I'm just going to generalize because we're not there yet. But I think Kelly and I both agree that monthly billing is the way we should go if we can make it work financially.
I think the consensus of the board is that also.
Yeah. Yeah, I know you guys both thought that same way too. Secondly, we talked about the COVID situation, the economy as it pertains to us, and actions we feel necessary in order to help our economy from completely becoming annihilated in the coming months based on what we see as economic factors that indicate that we're going to have problems with our tourism economy and our residents and businesses going forward. And we threw a bunch of ideas around, but in the meantime, Kelly and I both agreed that we're looking at having staff pursue an across-the-board reduction of up to 25%, with the caveat that there may be other options out there that we could use to implement and target more specifically people that are going to need it more than others. And again, we don't know how that's going to work. We've decided to have another meeting at the beginning of June. We just also decided that I think we're going to maybe try and implement something in the third quarter or the second quarter billing that could extend up through January or at least through the end of December of this year. But we don't have all the information that we need to make a good decision, so we're going to wait till the beginning of June's meeting, have another committee meeting, and then we should have a better idea of what we need to do to try and help ameliorate the financial burden of sewer bills and water bills that people haven't been able to pay.
The target was to kind of make a decision by the first meeting in June, the first board meeting in June, so that we could have it implemented to go out of the next quarter billing.
Yes.
If your finance committee meeting is right before that meeting, we won't really have an agendized item at that point.
Well, Paul said we could even go to the second meeting in June, but we would try and have something on the agenda for that, do you think?
I think we could have some sort of a more general or generic agenda item on the board agenda following the finance committee. Yeah, I would think
That we could then take and actually take action.
Yeah, we preemptively put it on there
So
so know that we're going to come up with something.
Right, so that it could be implemented in time to make the next quarter billings. Right, okay.
Yeah, we'll have something at the next board meeting as well.
Right,
An
right.
update on that, so we can feedback correction in 2 weeks.
Okay,
Kelly, you got anything to add to that? Okay.
Nick, you're out there. Have you thought along these lines also about any kind of a rate reduction? I guess there's a lot of business owners, particularly motels and apartment building owners that are not getting revenue and they're spending a lot on their utilities. I guess there's a pretty big outcry in the community. See, look, even the dog's upset.
Nick, your voice sounds different.
Anyway, what are your thoughts, Nick?
Yeah, no, I had a good chance to talk about this with John, I don't know, probably about 11 o'clock today, just some options and things we might want to consider. And I think we got to be very cognizant, in moments like this, I think there's that immediate need to want to do something and help as much as we can. But I would point to the fact that last meeting, or several meetings ago, I made a pitch why we should publicize the foregoing of late fees during this quarter. And then at the very last meeting, we had some level of buyer's remorse that probably was assuaged to some degree based on Paul's updated information he provided to us. And so what I'm saying is we have to be very conscious of what 25% means to an individual person versus what it's going to do for us and to our water utility district into the future, because eventually these bills are going to come due. So at some point we're going to have to drastically increase rates, whether it's in a year or so, on the poorest among us. And so we need to be very conscious of the longevity of what we're trying to accomplish from a district standpoint, and that also we're not kind of dealing with a short-term burden and then passing the buck off into the future. And so I think we need to be really conscious of that, because I'm in support of everyone to get things done and to do as much as we can for people suffering right now. But we can't do that in the face of, a declining water system that will at some level reach systemic failure. And so I don't know exactly where that line is, but I would encourage us to consider an opt-in policy opposed to an opt-out, For example, my rate should not be reduced by 25% now. I've had no economic incentive as of yet. And so there's going to be a percentage of people within this community that do. There's also a percentage of people, and I represent them now, that are completely flat on their bums. They're not getting income. They're in a really rough shape. And so we need to create an equitable system for all those people. And understanding kind of the economic power we have, the rulemaking authority we have, and is that reduction in fees in the short term going to be worth it in the long run for the kind of longevity of our water system? And these are just some of the challenges I'm grappling with as we discuss this.
All right. Yeah, thanks for your input on that. I think all of us on the board have had that. I mean, nobody wants to throw away $7 million of revenue and have to scramble later to pick it up. So that's the tightrope or balancing act we're trying to succeed on here. So,
I mean, would there be the possibility if you were, I'm kind of thinking obviously with the obvious ones, you're thinking hotels, you're thinking restaurants, bars, those kind of spaces. Would there be the possibility of kind of segregating those, if you will, and then having an opt-in program? So if you were a single family, residence working for those, you'd be impacted. But for people like me, it wouldn't just inherently been given to me.
yeah, I mean, I know staff has thought along those lines. I mean, as well as I do, it's really tricky to give some people breaks and other people not breaks for a public utility district. So it's kind of a hurdle.
It is that's actually one of the topics we talked about earlier today. The program that Tahoe City PUD has adopted is doing that, where they have specifically targeted just commercial. And they did that subsequent to having a meeting with their attorney and their rate consultant to determine that was okay to do that. And they're funding it with property tax revenue.
Okay.
Yeah, that's one of our options. I mean, we haven't looked at all the options because we don't know the exact ramifications of what's going on.
Well, my intent isn't to solve this today or to rehash all the arguments of the committee meeting that just happened. I just wanted to kind of get a feel for where everybody on the board was. So I think I kind of have that.
Yeah, the property tax link gives us a lot of flexibility if we want to focus our efforts on certain parts of the community or on the commercial sector or not,
Right.
or local or not.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, we kind of want to maximize the benefits for people who need it the most.
I think so.
That's all we're
I
trying
think
to do.
focus on the locals and
Right.
to the extent possible, focus it on. It seems like the commercial sector especially is without assistance on that side.
Yeah, although some of those loans are going through. Somebody I know who has a fairly good-sized business did get a loan, and it wasn't one of those little tank loans.
Yeah.
It was a real loan. Okay. Is there any other? I doubt there's any.
Hey, Randy, can I just add one more thing?
Go ahead.
Can I add one more thing to that point?
Sure.
Would we be able to have, as a conversation between the first meeting in June or the second meeting in June, would we be able to have a conversation to, kind of, I mean, is the thought that the finance committee is just going to come with the proposal and we just vote yay or nay? Or is there going to be some ability to discuss and kind of help to hash out the process with the rest of the board members?
Yeah, well, when I was asking about how the agenda would work and stuff, Paul had mentioned that we could have some kind of a generalized, non-specific item on that agenda that we could discuss as a board. And in other words, it wouldn't just be yes or no on the finance committee's recommendation. There would be ways to kind of tweak that.
This is way too big for just two people to think.
Yeah,
It's the whole board thing.
Right,
Okay.
I agree. Yeah.
I think we could bring a lot of information.
No, I think that,
Go ahead, Ed.
No, I think that makes sense. I was just hoping for an ability to kind of engage in the process as we're kind of fine tuning it, based on the recommendation that Kelly and Chris are going to be coming out with from finance.
I think we'll have a lot more in 2 weeks, and the board can have as much discussion at that one.
That's true. We will be able to discuss this again in 2 weeks. And when California is completely opened up, right?
Oh, sure. Well, that's normal.
So anyway, Nick, one of the reasons is just to be prepared. It's not necessarily to take action right away, but just to be prepared. And essentially, if we didn't do anything, at least have everybody on guard to tighten the belt, just in case we see a large number of delinquencies and in payments and stuff. We're not trying to ramrod something through there at all.
No, I agree, and I think if there's a kind of, as Randy outlined, the opportunity to discuss, I got no problem with that whatsoever. No, I think it's good, and I think it's great. You guys are making these, the investment to evaluate all the options and bring some of those forward, and kind of dismiss the ones that just simply aren't workable. So I think it's, kudos to everyone involved. Just wanted to be able to kind of interact with it a little bit before we finalize.
Yeah. Okay. I'm going to guess that there are no other standing or ad hoc committee reports, but correct me if I'm wrong, anybody? How about board member reports? No? Okay. And is there anything going on with the other? I see there's a meeting coming up on the 13th. Is there anything going on?
I expect so. Yeah.
And
That's next Wednesday.
I apologize, I didn't finish my sentence. It was the El Dorado County Water Agency Purveyor. So we're talking about. Jump into a discussion without a subject. So we'll get an update on that at the next board meeting. So I think we can move on to the general manager's report.
Okay, let's start with staffing. Just a couple items. We remain on hold for 3 recruitments, underground repair water, and 2 heavy maintenance positions. At this point, we will continue to delay these replacements as a cost-saving measure due to COVID-19, as we talked about in the Finance Committee meeting. Not sure for how long at this point. Of course, it's hitting 2 departments especially hard. So we will look to share some other existing staff to spread out the workload and minimize the impacts, whatever that time period ends up being. Second, in regards to seasonal and other temporary workers, new requests are also on hold right now. We pulled 3 requests off of today's agenda, in fact, and those 3 totaled $164,000. We are currently looking at all temp requests and the work that we had planned for those temps, and look at the impacts if we eliminate or delay that work or push that onto our standard crews. So we're taking a deeper dive into this, and we'll likely bring this back to the board in the future, and also likely taking it to the House and our Finance Committee meetings for a more detailed review before we refill any of those positions. So last item, COVID-19, of course. I sent out an email this morning which included some recent Barton news. We have a weekly calling meeting with Barton on Tuesdays. Just to recap a little bit, 5 new cases in town over this past week. They are seeing low levels of community spread, and we have enough medical resources here at Barton to manage new cases should that occur as we start to reopen. Barton does support the reopening for some businesses in a slow, methodical, phased approach, and that's what's planned. And would like to see 2 to 3 weeks to assess what happens in our community before we move to the next phase. Both El Dorado and Douglas County are working with the governors to plan for the reopening. And we share, again, Barton's concern that with the reopening, we'll see a lot more visitors in town, which we want, but also this could cause a local spike in COVID cases. So ongoing vigilance is required. And with our essential workers here at the district, and with some recommendation from Barton, we're advocating that our staff get tested for COVID-19 if they'd like to. There's a testing facility at Lake Tahoe Community College that just started up on Tuesday. And now, even if you're asymptomatic, you can try to get a test. They'll be prioritizing for public service and essential employees and those that are showing some symptoms. And again, this is not an antibodies test. It's a test if you have COVID right now, but maybe you have no symptoms and don't know it. So I feel it's best to know than to not know and deal with it. If we have somebody that's asymptomatic, they get tested positive, I think we would, if we can, we would like to put them on a 10-day quarantine period at home and try to keep them away from the district and possibly spreading that. So back in the district, we remain healthy, but no COVID-19 cases. We continue to operate at that risk level 3 that I talked about in the past. And again, I expect that we'll remain here for weeks, if not a month or 2. We'll see what happens as we de-escalate. We are setting up our staff for best practices for bringing office and field crews back to a new normal. we're looking for the right time and doing this in the right way to assess finding the best way and the best time to bring our field crews back. We had tentatively thought May 18th would be a good start time for that. Not sure that's going to give us that two-week window that we're looking for to assess what's happening in the community. Yeah, go ahead.
Hey, this is Chris Stanley. Hey, I don't mean to interrupt, but I just got a call that you guys might be interested in. Dave Galicia just called me and said that a police friend is, evidently there's some police over at Jim Jones'.
Yeah. Hey, Chris, let's hold that.
Huh?
Let's move on to something else, okay?
We need that information. We don't want to bring it up today. Thanks, Chris. Let me see. So we want to, see we're going to reopen in the community, and we'd like to give it a couple weeks before we bring our field crews back to some kind of modified schedule. Perhaps they'll have staggered start times, again, enhanced cleaning, using more vehicles for separation out in the field, and really as much distancing as possible while getting our work done and use of PPE. We have many staff working at home and working very effectively, so I expect we will keep this going to a large degree for at least another month or so. And I want to talk a little bit about our customer service staff up front. They really seem to be fully operational and functional with mostly a virtual staff. We have 2 or 3 folks in there physically every day, but many of these are working from home. I think like 2/3 of the staff working from home. Again, I think this will continue with the front office closed to visitors for another month or 2 at least. But we continue to work effectively with customers, taking in the bills, talking about bills, processing permits. We continue to complete our field inspections, and all of the work really, I think, without interruption that I can tell. So that's working good as is. We've talked a lot about COVID today, the shutdown, the impacts, our cost reductions, operational response, financial planning, recovery, potential assistance programs. All of your staff would like me to emphasize that we share your concerns about our community, and we will continue working together and work with the board to assist and support our local economic recovery as a proactive community partner. Thanks, Randy.
Okay. Any staff attorney reports? All right. As you can see there, past and future meetings. It looks like we do have a couple of closed session items. So let's, unless somebody else has some business they want to do, let's go out of open session and in the closed session.